for lunch at the end of this bill. We do have a couple of amendments. Mr. Tenderholt, for what purpose? The following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment by Wu.
The chair recognizes Mr. Wu to explain the amendment.
Thank you, members. Yesterday, we talked a lot about due process. We mentioned multiple times that because of the way the statute is written, because that the legal jurisdiction that this creates is called an in rem type of jurisdiction, which is rarely used. Most of our jurisdiction in civil court, well, in any court, is what we call in persona, or at minimum quasi in rem. But this is a fully in rem process with no guarantee of due process. What this amendment does is, one, it puts in a notice requirement that says you have to serve notice on the people you're taking this property from. Two, if you do this, then you must prove it in court by at least clear and convincing as a standard of proof, with clear and convincing evidence. There is no standard of proof in this law. It's just whatever they say it is. This is the same legal standard that we have right now for taking away your children. If you're going to take away someone's property, you better be able to prove it. The last thing is it guarantees a right for the people to request a jury trial, something that is fundamental in our Constitution. Move adoption.
The chair recognizes Mr. Hefner in opposition to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, move to table the amendment.
A burden of proof.
The motion to table is withdrawn. Mr. Hefner in opposition to the amendment.
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Wu, for what purpose?
The gentleman yield for questions.
Gentleman yield for questions.
I yield.
Gentleman yields.
Mr. Hefner, you're opposing this amendment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You oppose a notice requirement to the property owner that he's being investigated and that the property is being challenged in court. You oppose that notice.
Anytime a case is brought like this, they will be served the normal notice that's spelled out in district court, whatever those processes are currently. The Attorney General will actually bring an in rem action against the property itself.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. That the action is brought against the property and not the person. So here, this is just providing extra protection to guarantee, to make sure that we follow the rules. Is this following rules of civil procedure or criminal procedure?
Civil.
Is that spelled out in your bill?
Yes.
You sure?
Mr. Wu,
Okay.
ask your questions.
I'm asking you. All right. And in your bill does not state a burden of proof, meaning like you understand that there's levels of proof that you need. Reasonable suspicion is what cops need to like pull you over. Probable cause is what you need to get arrested, right? Clear and convincing is what the state needs, or a preponderance of evidence is what you need to win in a civil trial. Clear and convincing is what you need to take someone's kids away. Beyond a reasonable doubt is what you need to put somebody in jail. We're providing some level of proof. In your legislation, it provides zero level of proof. right? And it gives the courts no guidance on what they're supposed to do. What we're setting this to, if you're going to take someone's land, you should treat it like taking their kids. It should be clear and convincing level of proof.
Would likely be the preponderance of evidence, just like in all civil cases.
Which is what?
Preponderance of evidence.
Is that, so we are in civil procedure. So your bill spells out that we're following civil procedure.
It refers to Chapter 64 of the Civil Code and spells it all out.
Okay.
Just like any other divestiture that happens, same process. Proof has to be brought. Investigation has to be done.
Okay.
There's due process before a judge.
Are you opposing the request to make sure that you have a right to a jury trial, a fundamental protection in this country?
What if this person's not, maybe they bought this property and they've left the country?
And?
That's why we have the in-rem action portion in the bill.
So you can take it when they're gone?
What?
So this is why I have this in here, the provision to make sure you serve them. So some of the people might be like the people we talked about. They might live overseas for a while. They might live over here for a while. They might go live in England for a while. But when they're gone, is that when you're going to go file this action? Is that when you're going to take their properties when they're gone?
If they're found to have purchased this land illegally, if we can't find them, we'll bring a case against the property and we'll divest it.
Is there anything that in your bill that says how hard you have to try to find them? Or how much time you have to give them?
I'm not advised. It's otherwise provided under the rules of civil procedure.
So if they didn't show up, obviously there would be no trial because they could not request a jury trial.
There would be an in-rem action against the property. You are fully aware of in-rem actions, are you not?
If the person showed up and say, hey, this is wrong, the Attorney General is wrong, I want my day in court, why can they not have a jury trial?
These types of cases are all spelled out in the Civil Code.
There's nothing in here that guarantees a right to a jury trial. In fact, in your bill, it specifically states
There's nothing
that
that prohibits a jury trial. This is just like any other civil case, Mr. Wu. It's spelled out in the code. It's referenced in there. It's been well thought through and established. And you know what you could do? Here's what they could do. They could purchase the land legally. How about that? How about they just follow the law?
Right now, they're
If
purchasing
they follow
the
the
land
law,
legally.
we don't have to worry about any of this, do we?
They purchase the land legally now, too.
Then they're fine.
Yeah.
This bill is perspective going forward.
But the next time they purchase something, it will be illegal, right?
If they follow the provisions of these bills, absolutely.
Yeah. In your bill, it specifically says that a judge will make these decisions. Why will you not add in a provision that says if someone wants to have a jury trial, that they can?
This is just like any other civil case,
It is not.
Mr. Wu, spelled out in the property code.
Okay. In your bill, it specifically lists out the action to be taken by a judge, including the findings. When you spell out that the judge must do those things, the interpretation is only the judge can do those unless you include a provision that says that you can request a jury trial.
I'm not going to accept an amendment to allow a jury trial because the person may not be present.
Thank you.
They could buy the land legally, and then we don't have an issue at all.
Mr. Wu to close on the amendment.
Thank you, members. I think I have everything I need. Thank you. Please vote yes.
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Rosenthal, for what purpose?
would the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Yes, I will.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Representative. This amendment that you've brought, this is exactly the topic of conversation you and I were having last night. Is that right?
That's right.
So what is the reason that we need to have some form of boundaries?
So in most cases, in most type of statutes like this, if you follow if it's just a regular civil case, you would fall under regular rules of civil procedure. But this this law is almost unlike anything else we have. And the way it works is very complicated, it's very convoluted, involving the courts, involving the Attorney General. And even in rem jurisdiction lawsuits are extremely, extremely rare. They're really only used when people are collecting judgments, going after old debts and things like that, where people have long absconded and there's no possible way. But in civil jurisprudence, you're required to go try to find the person. You have to show the court that you cannot find them. That's not what this bill lays out. This bill just says, all you have to do is put it in the county registry. That's enough notice, right? So people might have their land taken and never know it. And not only that, when you put into a law that a judge makes the decisions, that by its plain and clear interpretation means that a jury does not do it. There is no right to a jury because the bill has foreclosed on it. That is it. And I think having a right to a jury trial, having 12 citizens of your peers, of people in the community to make that decision so that not one man gets to decide by himself.
So would you call that due process?
Absolutely. It is fundamental. It is a fundamental right for all people in these United States.
Exactly. So if the bill as written has no standard of proof, how do we know if there's an actual violation, or does just one guy get to decide?
And I think because they're intentionally leaving it so much interpretation, because they can say, well, we'll just do whatever we want. And that's probably why.
I find that problematic. Thank you for your amendment.
Thank you so much. Please vote yes.
Mr. Wu sends up an amendment. The amendment is not acceptable to the author. The question occurs on the adoption of the amendment. This is a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Show Mr. Wu voting aye. Show Mr. Hefner voting nay. Show Mr. Bryant voting aye. Show Ms. Morales-Shaw voting aye. Show Ms. Kerwin voting nay. Show Mr. Louderback voting nay. Have all voted. There being 59 ayes, 83 nays, the amendment fails. Mr. Guerin for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. The lunch